Okay, we'll have a little bit of a short shoot today. Okay, we're in the Gemara and Lamed Dalet Amud Aleph in Menachos Itmar near the top. Lul Pasuach and a Bayis Aliyah. So you have a lul. Usually, the other times you find the word lul is like lul shel tarnagolim, which means like a small, usually sometimes like a little box. So here in this context, it's a box that you walk through from the attic or from the let's say the rooftop into the house, or from an attic to the house. So Itmar lul pasuach min habayis la'aliyah. Usually an aliyah is either the second floor. People might be staying there, and you want people to walk directly into the house, so you have this separation place in between. This box that you have to walk that surrounds the staircase to come from the second floor or the attic down to the house. Amar Huna im yeshlo pesach echad chayav mezuzah achas. If it has only one doorway, which means I guess that there's only one doorway to it, and the other one is just wide open, like we had before, like a sadr type thing that has no, it's just a three-sided box. It the fourth side doesn't have a doorway. So if it has one pesach, then it's one mezuzah. If it has a fourth wall with a door in it, chayav b'shtei mezuzahs. Then it needs two. Now Rashi explains that we'll see the Rashi. Zehu darkan aruba be'emtza aliyah v'olala min habayis b'mailos v'osin dala mechitza saviv hamaylos lamata. So the general thing was to have four mechitzas from up in the attic down to the house. Kadesh lo yered adam min aliyah l'bayis. You want people that overstaying, you have a guest, let's say, staying in the attic, or the second floor, or whatever they used to have in those days, and you don't want them to come down to the house without rishus. Maybe you have a person that's a paid person that's living there or something. You don't want them just to walk into your house. So osin pesach and mechitzas, so they make doorways with walls that you can't just jump around the staircase or whatever. You have to walk through this box to get in. You have to get rishus to come into the house. And osin b'nei aliyah dalad mechitza saviv aruba lamayla behen pesach. Or people that live up on top that want the bottom people to come up there. So also they make four mechitzas around an aruba, which is like the entryway to the aliyah, behen pesach. So either the box is below or the box is above, depending who built it or what the purpose is to keep people from below out from the top, or from above down, not getting below. So the Gemara says, so Rashi says, there's one doorway up and one doorway down, then it needs two mezuzahs. So it's a little bit hard to, we don't have such a metzias today. We don't have things like this so much today. But one practical application of today would be probably like an Eretz Yisrael, chadar madregot. You have, you walk into the building in Eretz Yisrael, and then you have the public, semi-public, entryway. It has the staircase goes all up to all the different apartments, and so that would be it wouldn't be such a small lul. That'd be a pretty huge thing. But the same idea that you can't just get in from the outside door right into someone's house. You have to go through the Chan Redegot and be let in to the house. And so it has mechitzas around it. So this would be telling us that the Chan Redegot, like they have in Eretz Yisrael, would be chayav in mezuzah in the from one side. In this case, it would be from the outside door coming in, and then it's going to be obviously the doors to the house. But Lu Yitzur, you would have some other type of another doorway to get up. Another separation, like some of the more expensive apartments in Israel have the outside door, and then there's another doorway inside to get into where the apartment area is. So according to this, both of those doors, since there are two doors, you would need two mezuzahs. So the Gemara says, okay, that would probably be the main nafkamina, for today, because we don't have these boxes so much today. But we'll see another nafkamina very soon in Mr. Shem. So now, the Gemara goes on to say, Amar Papa Shmamina Mirav Huna Hayan Druna Isle Arba Babi Chai Barba Mezuzahs. So this andruna, like some type of room that you go into that has 4 doorways to get in, needs 4 mezuzahs. Pshita, obviously, what's the chiddush of that? Lo tzricha avagav the rugel b'chad. The chiddush is if you're only rugel to use one of these doors, the chiddush is you still need a mezuzah on the other 3 doors. So what is this chiddush? What does it mean rugel b'chad? What's the chiddush of that? So Rashi has 2 lashonos over here. Avagav the rugel b'chad b'nayu. Rashi says chad b'nayu tfei, even though one of them is more used than the others. In other words, rugel doesn't mean that it's not used, that the others are not used at all. It means that this one is used more than the others. We had a Gemara before in Daf Megimel that over there the Gemara said by the Pischa and Lama Gimel at Aleph, the Pischa the Eilba Rav Huna le Midrasha. Rav Huna had a doorway that he went into the Beis Medrash, Hagla Mezuzah, and had a mezuzah. The Gemara asking a kasha over there that why should need a mezuzah? It's a Beis Medrash, and also it sounds like it was only Rav Huna's door. Ahu ragel hava. Rav Huda, Amarav mezuzah helech achar ragel. By mezuzah you go after the ragel. So Rashi in one lashon over there said that the pshat is helech achar ragel. Rashi said im yesh beis psachim l'cheder echad. You have 2 doors that open into one room. Also, Pesach Shiraga, let's say Salavo Yoser Yinech Mezuzah, the one that you more commonly use. There's one that's not commonly used at all, and one that is commonly used. You put the mezuzah on that one, not on the uncommon one. So according to that, there's a chiddush over there that the door that's not rugel is batal to the door which is rugel, and it's pater from a mezuzah, according to the way Rashi learns over there. It's a chiddush. So Rashi, the Shitasa, learns that in his own shita, that we said before, the chiddush of this Gemara is that over there we said if you have one door which is not rugel, one which is, then the ain't a rugel is batal to the rugel. Hani milik, you go and trey babi rugel b'chad b'tela idach l'gabei. That's if you have only 2 doors. You could say that one is batal to the other. One door can be chashav enough to be batal one door to it. But 3 to 1 is not. There's no way you could have the chashivas one door that's chashav enough to be mevatel the shimush of 3 doors, even though they're not rugel so much, but that's already too much to say that's batel to 1. Obvious question, Rashi, is what would he say about 2? We only have 2 extremes here. We have 1 to 1 and 4 to 1. What about 4 meaning 3 not rugel and 1 that's rugel? So you have 3 to 1. What would be the din by 2 to 1? So that Rashi doesn't say. We have to. It's not possible to know what the halacha would be. But it sounds like for this Gemara, we're only saying that only 3 times 1 is more chashuv. Why should 3? Why not 2? Yes.
Rabbi, so yeah. it's a din in the chashivus that's going to override the fact that there's the amount of times that it goes into 1, that a person goes into 1.
Right, that's what we're saying. In other words, the shimush haragel creates a chashivus that's mevatel one to the other. Because in general, like bittul is something which goes, it's in chashivus.
So I didn't understand the Rashi because it seemed like he was dealing with 2 different things completely. One is the amount of times someone comes in, and one is the number of doors. So the common denominator is chashivus. That's how Rabbi is reading it.
Yeah, the Rashi is saying that in both cases, the case before in Lama Gimel and this case over here, you have one door that's the main entry door, and then you have a few other doors that are just sort of like side doors that are not used very often. And since they're not used often, they're not. So then they lose their chashivus. Like they become, since they're not so used, they become batal. We say
right.
that obviously we're not talking about bittul over here, like bittul barov or bittul taruvas or anything like that. It's when mevatel it's chashivus to the chashivus of the other door.
Okay.
And therefore it becomes batal to mezuzah. And just the question will be that how do you know what would be the din of 2 to 1 instead of 3 to 1? So that's one shot. That's Rashi's first shot. Second lashon Rashi, Lishnachrina, Yeshuvas Hagoinim, Helech Achar Ragel, Shai Ragel of Shmei Adam Regilim, Lotzes V'Lavabo, Lumute Pischa de Rebbe, She'enu Asui Ela Lalavaroi. So it's referring totally back to the Gemara before in Lama Gimel. The Rebbe had a door that was only for him, not for anybody else. Our Beis Psachim Al Gimel L'Cheder Echad B'Kulan Nasu L'Bias Kol B'nei Abayis Sham Ruben, the Tashish Echa Becher Tadir, Hutzachol of Sachem Harbe, Kulan Chayab Mezuzah, Alpha Pishimis Maya Tashmish, Ainut Circum Akshav, the Kulan Ella Echamhem. So the Goinim learn that we're not talking about bittul over here. We're talking about it's just it's a halacha that only a door. It's in a way it's a smaller chiddush, in a way it's a bigger chiddush than Rashi. That a door that's not used commonly is just pater from zuzah. It needs to be a commonly used door. Period. Rebbe's door was only for himself, so it wasn't considered a common use. It was pater. And the chiddush over here is that if you have, say, 4 doors, and because let's say you have a lot of people, before somebody has, let's say, a lot of kids in their house, and like the way basically he's saying over here, the Smicha Tadira, like they become empty nesters later on. So they had a lot of use for a lot of doors before, and now that it's only the 2 of them, they just use the 1 door. And the other 3 were built to be used, but now they're not being used anymore so much. Even so, since they were built to be used, still they remain chayav. That's the chiddush according to the Gaonim. So so we have 2 separate chiddushim over here in this Gemara that we're still chayav in all the doors. Rashi, the chiddush is that they're not batal to the 1 door, and the Gaonim, the chiddush is that they don't become batal me'aleim. They don't become this batal from a Shem Pesach, even though they're not being used so much anymore. So it's really 2 separate chiddushim going on. And now the Shita Mukabetzes in Gimel. Let's see here a second. Right, so the Shita asks, in Gimel asks on Rashi, that Rashi explains his first shot, what he says about Bittul. Kasha v'hecha shem inan la'al v'milsa d'Ravuna. Ravuna lo ayri elo pesach echad l'mayla v'echad l'mata. Lifnei zeh v'shnei regilim sha'akol nichnasim v'yotzim b'zeh. So the Rav Huna's whole din that we're talking about over here, this lul, you have 1 door above and 1 door below. And we said you're chayav in two mezuzahs. So it's just pashup shot in the Gemara. The Shita says, the way Rashi learns it doesn't seem to make sense. We're talking about it with either it has 1 door or it has 2 doors. So then it says if it has 2 doors, it's chayav in 2 mezuzahs. So the Gemara says, Shema Mina, we see from Rav Huna, that this andruna that has 4 doors, it has 4 mezuzahs. And then on that we ask Pshuta, we say Terutzim, that whether it's Batzal or whatever. How in the world do you see from Rav Huna's din anything about 4 doors? The whole thing has either 1 or 2 doors. And the Chiddush was, even if 2 doors, it has 2 mezuzahs. Where do you see anything about Bittul? Where do you see it? And they're both obviously equally used. If they're going to have 2 doors, one to get from the Aliyah to the house, that's only to get through. They're both obviously used doors. So how do you see the whole sugya, this whole second half of the sugya, from the first half of the sugya? How do you see this from the din of Rav Huna? That's the kasha of the Shita. So he answers, the Perish Haram, the Rav Huna Ayri b'shnei psachim ze etzel ze, v'echad ragel yosem chavero. So he wants to say a chiddush that when he says that if it has 2 doors, it doesn't mean 2 doors, one on the top of this box or whatever, this wooden box, and one below it to get into the other house. It's talking about where perhaps there's no door on the bottom at all, but if there's 2 doors on top, which one of them is the main door, one is the secondary door. And the chiddush is that they're both secondary door that's not used as much is also still chayav in a mezuzah. So that's that would be the chiddush according to. But that's certainly not according to Rashi. Rashi definitely doesn't learn that way. So the kasha comes back to on Rashi. It's really sort of very difficult. That where does Rashi know? According to Rashi, where do we know the way Rashi learns the Gemara? Where do we know this din of 4 doors and 3 and bittul and this whole thing? How does it come out from the din of Rav Huna? Because the Gemara says it's Shema Mina Rav Huna, and so it's very difficult. Where do we know that from? So that remains Sorach, and we'll have a good answer for that.
Well, Rashi really couldn't learn like the Shita because he holds that the 1 door is batal to the next door.
And Achanami.
I mean, the Shita's question on Rashi is, and if you would ask Rashi, he would say, I would hold that door's pater. So that case cannot be the Gemara's case, according to Rashi.
If indeed the second door is really not rugel, if you barely use it.
Right, if it's not rugel, well, that's the case of the Gemara.
Yeah, okay, and Hanami, I guess that's what I have to say, that I'll be the Rugel B'chad, so the other one's fucking not Rugel. So Rashi can't learn that way, right? Because it'll be Batal. I hear what you're saying. So then Hadra Kushla Dukta, the way Rashi does learn, how do we see it from the din of Rav Huna? Are you saying a good point? Rashi couldn't have said like the Shita. Very good. So then he certainly doesn't. And you're just saying even better. You're saying that he couldn't have either.
He couldn't have, so we have to learn a different pshat with Rashi. What's the Shema Mino according to Rashi from Rav Huna?
Right. So that's what we're saying. The Shita clearly does not learn like Rashi. You're saying even better. He couldn't have. He doesn't, and he couldn't have. So now,
Yes.
So now, how did Kushla Dukta? How did he learn? What is pshat? How do we see from Rav Huna this whole din of 4 doors and Arba Babi and everything? So in Druna. I apologize. I neglected to bring in the Shulchan Aruch because I need to bring it on this halacha, so I'll be right back. So please wait for a second.
Okay.
The Shulchan Aruch in Reish Pei Vav Yud Zayin and Yud Ches. We'll take it first. Before we'll see before the Shulchan Aruch is going on the Rambam. That's the Rambam Perek Vav Halacha Yud Mezuzah. It says Bayis Yesh L'Psachim Harbe. Ava B'She'enu Rogel Latzes V'Lovo Ela B'Pesach Echad Mihen Chayav Latzes Mezuzah B'Chol Pesach Pesach. So Rambam says clearly that if you have many doors in a house, even though you only are rugel to go in and out one of those doors, still you have to put mezuzah on all these psachim. I guess you could see this from our Gemara, because if it has harbe psachim, if Rambam learns like Rashi, then the chiddush will be you have a lot of doors in case they're not all batal to the one door. But then he goes on to say, and also that's one halacha in the Rambam. We see from this Gemara, and then he says another halacha that seems to come straight out of Lul, but all the Meforshim have a lot of trouble understanding it, is Pesach Katan Shebein Bayis Ve'aliyah Chaya B'Mezuzah. A small door that's between the house and the Aliyah, goes up to the attic, is Chaya B'Mezuzah. So it's a shaila, what does Rama mean by a Pesach Katan? What's the chiddush of this Pesach Katan? Is it Manashach? If it's too small, if it's less than 10 tvachim, so then it's pater. If it has 10 tvachim, obviously it's chayiv. So what's the chiddush of this halacha? What's the before again it's tzarech iyun? What does the Rambam really mean? That's in the Rambam. Now the Shulchan Aruch says in Reish Pei Vav Sif Yud Zayin, Im yesh v'bayis harbe psachim psuchim b'chatzer or l'shus rabin nasu kulam l'knisa v'yatzias b'nei habayis kulam chayavim. So the house has a lot of psachim. He says psuchim l'chatzer or to l'shus rabin, meaning there's a lot of different ways to get into the house, and they all are l'knisa v'yatzia for the b'nei habayis. So you have one house that has a lot of ways to get into it. Kulam chayavim afilinus mata diurim she'en regilim atalatzis lavo el bechamhem. So they all are chayav, even though you have a lot less people now, and you really use one of them. That's one halacha. And then in Sif Yud Ches, he says, "Bayis yesh lo psachim harbe." Aval pi she'ena raga latzas v'lavo ela be'echad mehen, chayav lasas mezuzah b'chol Pesach u'Pesach. And the Ramah says, Hoel v'nasu k'nisu v'yitzia. A house that has a lot of doors, even though you're not rugel, you're only rugel to go with one of them, you have to put a mezuzah on each Pesach. So the question is, that what's the difference between Sifyat Zayin and Sifyat Ches? They seem to be the exact same halacha. They seem to be coming from our sugya and the same halacha. Again, in Yud Zayin, it says if the house has psachim harbe, open to the Chatzar or to the Shusar Rabin, and they're all made for Knesset V'Yetzia of the Bnei Abayis, Kulam Chayavin. They all are Chayav. I feel in this Matu Adurim. In other words, the Shulchan Aruch is saying that the reason we needed a lot of doorways because you had a lot of people living there. But now you have a lot less people living there. The Regilis is only to use one of them. Even so, they remain all remain chayav. And then the second halacha was a bais that has tzachim harbe. Even though you're only ruggled to go in and out one of them, it's chayav to mezuzah on each door, since they're made for k'nisa v'yetzia. So it seems mamish to be the exact same halacha twice. It seems to be very strange. So the Beragola on the side in Sifyat Zayin, he says that it's a lashon of the Torah from the member of Papa, Daf Lamed Daled, who could perish a Shem Nisha Rashi b'Shem Tshuvas HaGaonim. He's saying the Tshuvas HaGaonim. He's not. In other words, the chiddush of Sifyat Zayin is that we don't say that if a door stops being ruggled to be used, then it loses its Shem Pesach. Not that there's no half a minute one is bottled to the other. It's just that you might have thought that if it's not used very much, it just is bottled the Shem Pesach. And then Sifyat Ches, the Beragola says, is a lashon of Ramban from member of a papa Perish Rishon should be Perish Rashi, that he's passing in the first Perish of Rashi that there is a svara, possibly a svara of bittul of one door to another door. If the other door should be bottled to the rugel, and the chiddush is that, like Rashi said, that kama psachim are not bottled to one Pesach. And again, we don't see over here a clarity about what it would be with two psachim. But Kopanim is just very fascinating that the difference between Rashi and the Gonim is sort of subtle. It's even more subtle in the Lashon of Shulchan Aruch, but the way the Beragola learns it is that both of these Mefarshim, both of these Perushim in the Gemara, Rashi and the Gonim, are both brought halacha l'maisa mitzad the svara of one to say that we don't pass on the svara that the doors are bottled from the Shem Pesach, even though they're not used so much. And the second svara is you don't say that they're bottled to one that's more ruggled to it, that they should all be bottled to another door. There are different nafkaminas could be out of this, but we see that we're passing in both Shatim and the Gemara. Now, just to finish off the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah says there that you have a very fascinating halacha that's a sort of a corollary of our sugya. He says if you have a martef sheshlo pesach min arachov shmachnisim bo yain chavios gedolos. A martef is like a cellar. Let's say in your house, people used to have a wine cellar in their house, or especially if they sold wine, but they have. So it has a big door. So it has a larger door that people bring the barrels of wine in and out. When it's time to bring them in to ferment, they bring them in, and then it's time to take them out to sell or to use or whatever. They take them out of this bigger door. And then you have a small doorway between the cellar and the house. So I guess you go from the house into the cellar to get wine to use, for your Suda, whatever. So he says, in a Pesach HaKatan, Roy the Mezuzah, he chayavis v'agdola p'tura. If the small door that you go in and out of from the house has a Shuir of a Pesach, it's 10 Tfachim, it's Roy the Mezuzah, which means it's 10 Tfachim, then it's chayav. And then the big door is taka pater. In Ena Katan Roy the Mezuzah, agdola chayavis v'katan pater. However, if the small door is not roy from mezuzah, let's say it's less than 10 fachim, you have to sort of scoot in there to get stuff out. So then it's pater and the big door becomes chayav. So here you're seeing enough Kamina that now we have a series of time over here. Here, the Shach speaks out that he says that the small door having a shear means it has to be four tefachim wide and it has to be 10 tefachim high, like we'll say later in Reish Pei Zayin. So he says, since the Shach says, since nichnasim v'yotzim tamid derech osa pesach hakatan, since the way you always go in and out is through that small door, v'shama ikr tashmisha, that's the ikr tashmish of the room, is to go in and out to take wine to use for your suda. V'gadol pater, why is a gadol pater? Ein tashmisha sham b'knisa v'yetzia elo famim. You only go in and out sometimes, occasionally, because it's tzarich lachnis bo yain b'chavyos. When you need to bring out wine, the barrels, to take the actual barrels out. I guess you go in when you for your suda, you take your pitcher, and you have a tap or a spout that you can take it out of the barrel into that and take it into your house. You're not actually taking the big barrels in and out of that small Pesach. But in the big door is to take the actual barrels in and out, and that's not so common. Vein ze tashmish kavua. So that shimush of taking barrels in and out, Shach says, is not a tashmish kavua. It's not considered a established common tashmish. It says very important words. Batel hu legabe pesach hakatan, and therefore it is batel to the pesach hakatan. So we see that here we're paskening enough gemina in Shitas Rashi that we're utilizing this for a bittel. Aval kshein bekatan shir haroy lemezuzah al pish mishtamshem bekatan ina ela kachor ba'alma v'gdola hiya ikar pesach. However, if the small door, it doesn't have a sheer pesach, it's not 10 tefachim high or 4 tefachim wide, so then the Shach says a strong lashon, it's only like a chor, it's like a hole in the wall. Like you need it like a hole in the wall. It's a hole in the wall. So just a hole in the wall doesn't have a koach to be mevatel a real pesach, even though its shimush is not so rugged. So here we might be finding enough gemina possibly between the Gaon and Rashi. Perhaps the Gaon would agree with this as well, but we see a bittel back and forth. When it's not shot that the big door that's not used very much doesn't have a Shem Pesach to it. It does have a Shem Pesach. That's the shimush ein ragel that's not mafkia the Shem Pesach. According to the Gaon, you might have thought so, but according to Rashi, it's not mevatel the Shem Pesach. It's not paka the Shem Pesach, the fact that it's not ragel, but the inner ragel will be mevatel it to another Pesach, which is ragel, that we do see. So when will it be mevatel it? That's only when the other smaller one has a Shem Pesach. When it doesn't, so then the fact that the bigger door had a Shem Pesach all along, it's no longer batel and it becomes chayav and a mezuzah. So that's a very geshmak enough minute between Rashi and the Gaonim, because according to the Gaonim, if we don't have a sfor bittul, the only reason you could say that the larger door would be pater is because the shimush in a rogel is mafkia Shem Pesach, so it won't have a Shem Pesach even if whether or not the small door has a Shem Pesach, because we're not dealing with Inyanai Bittul. When according to Rashi, this makes a lot of sense. So the Chora, we see at least over here, it's the sfor of Rashi will patri from mezuzah when the small door has Shem Pesach. It'll be machayiv you in a mezuzah in the bigger door when the small one doesn't have Shem Pesach. It's a very fascinating halacha. Okay, another.
Have you ever seen a case like that? Like halacha l'maisa?
I don't really know anybody that has cellars anymore, but
does that have to be a cellar? Like let's say a garage, where I don't really use the opening of the garage, but it kind of has two pesach, but I use it. It's connected to my house.
Yeah,
so I can go into my house.
You very rarely open the garage door. You only open it just when you have, let's say,
take out the garbage. Take out the garbage. I use it to take out the garbage.
So that depending on whatever. I mean, taking out the garbage. I know by me, taking out the garbage is a daily thing, or
it's once a week. No, I'm saying once a week means to take out to the street. To take out to the street.
Yeah. So I mean, even that once a week, like here, taking out the barrels when they sell the barrels was very uncommon.
wasn't a business? It seemed like it was like a business one, no?
It doesn't sound so much like a business. I'm talking about like he's used it in his house. It's attached to the house, probably not a regular business. So that's the saying. It's a shimush ena kavua v'ena ragel. It's a business that will be very kavua and very ragel. Be taking in and out barrels for selling them. It sounds like a guy who has his own private cellar. He has a private cellar, so he brings barrels in and they sit there and ferment for a long time, and at some point he's going to finish them and take them out. So it's very not common. And if you have a business that's coming in and out all the time, then the horse it should be chayav. Although there is a svara which we'll see. I didn't see it here yet now, but there is a svara in poskim that if something is used only to take your wares in and out, it's not really for a person to go in and out. It's just like if you have an opening that you just push, you just maybe you need to go in there because you have to carry the stuff in. It's only for carrying stuff in and out. Then that might be patra altogether. It's not called it's not a makom dira at all. It's not a pesach shel dira at all. But here you see that I think that just the average garage, might be exceptions. The average garage is used. It's open pretty often. Things come in and out pretty often. Cars and whatever things. But in a hanami, if you would have a garage that's very rarely open, and you always go into the garage through the inside door through the house, then in a hanami, that according to this, it would be a pattern. I just don't think that's so rugged to be that way. So common.
Mm.
Okay, now another big nafkamina that comes out of this halacha, we sent out the Marmakomos. We'll talk through some of these points here. That this lul over here, which we don't, one nafkamina, the lul, as we mentioned, it would be a chadar madrigot in Eretz Yisrael, like the knisa, chadar knisa they call it, or chadar madrigot. So it's a glorified lul over there that you have like a much larger than just a box, but it's for that purpose. People shouldn't go straight from the street into the building. There should be a doorway to get through. If they want, they can lock it, and it's getting up to the other houses. So that's one nafkamina. But a very common nafkamina, even more directly, it's more like a lul as far as being a box, is an elevator. An elevator shaft, an elevator, and then the door. So you have a shaft, you have the elevator, and you have the doors that lead to the elevator. So we saw in the Marmakomos I sent out the shita of the Chovos Hadar. Chovos Hadar was written by Reb Beloy Zatzal, who was the author of Piskei Shulchan and many other, like a whole set of very famous form on Choshen Mishpat. It was considered one of the Cheshivya Poskim in the last door. And so his Sefer Chovos Hadar was really the Sefer that all the other Sforim that came later on Mezuzah all, started with his. All, he was the first one to really write and codify the Mezuzah in this way, and discuss more modern shilas. So the Chovos Hadar. So he just says in his top in the halacha above in the sifin says pischei malit chayavim b'mezuzah b'pitzchei binyan shenichnasim derech sham malit. So the openings, the doorways that lead to the elevator are chayav in mezuzah. In other words, the doorways that are attached to the binyan that open up to the elevator, they're chayav shenichnasim derech sham malit. That's the way you get into the malit. So it makes sense that the only way to get into the elevator is through the ground floor. Let's say that's the normal way to walk in. So that's the case, most cases. You walk into the ground floor. So on that floor, it will be on the right going into the elevator. And all the other floors, that the ikar of the opening there is not to go into the door in there, but it's to come out from the elevator into the different floors. There you're going to put on the yamin on the right side going into the out of the elevator, the right side going out of the elevator into the upper floors. That's the motive of this. That's the purpose of it, to bring you there. So those doors are for the sake of Yitzia, not for the sake of Knisa into the only the first floor is for the sake of the Knisa into the elevator. So the Chavos Hadar builds this in the Ara here. He builds it on our Sugya. And the way he says it is that he says Mi'ata, after bringing down the Rashi and everything, that the derech was to have the Aruba, that through it you go from one floor to the next. Mi'ata Ma'aliyos Anugos Kayom Bebinyanim Hu Mamish Koso Lul Amitsuya Rashi. It's Mamish exactly the case of Rashi. Except for that the only nafkamina is the bimkom in place of that we have to walk up the steps. In the old days, now you have a different power that brings you up the steps. Instead of steps, it brings you up. It is same purpose, same tachlis, mamish, the same mitzias. So therefore, he says, "You can't push it." Shepiskei binyan shemisabi l'tam alit chayvim v'mezuzah shenichasim darkam l'malit. It's pashut that just like that, it's pashut in our sugya that the doorways of the lul are chayav. So also here it's pashut that the doorways into this lul, which is called a malit, is called an elevator, would be chayav. Yes.
I just don't. The one thing I don't understand is that if you think about the Pesach, like the Pesach to the elevator shaft, there is different than the Pesach to the actual room of the elevator, right? By the case of the lul, right? So when you have the doorway there, like that doorway you can always walk into, and there's always like stairs to walk up. But by an elevator shaft, that doorway is just an opening to like this huge, massive empty space, right? Wouldn't it be like the elevator room itself that would be chayiv b'mezuzah?
Oh, okay. So you're asking good.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, based on what you're sort of asking maybe, or perhaps they should both be chayav.
Oh, I didn't really view it as a Pesach, like into a cheder, meaning if you open that Pesach and you'd fall straight down, like that's not really a proper Pesach to a cheder. You know, that's what I was wondering, as opposed to like which one is Samuch Chutz or not. Like the elevator itself, I would imagine that room itself, the moving room, would be the one that I was guessing. Or maybe I just don't understand, but
yeah. Okay, so you're asking very good. So first of all, we'll finish off the Shita of Chavos Hadar, and we'll see that with the Minchas Yitzchak, Diane Weiss, that's all is saying like you.
Oh, I didn't get a chance to see that. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll see. So the
Rabbi,
yes.
There's also, I saw a tshuva by Betzel Chochma,
Right.
that he says that the elevator itself is like a diras arai, where it's moving. And if you have a sukkah, like in Sukkot, where you have it and it's there for 7 days and it's not chayav because it's diras arai, then wouldn't you say the same thing about an elevator that's constantly moving?
Oh, okay, so very good. So Tzal Chachma is talking about there are really four shitas over here. There's the Piskei Mezuzah sort of it consolidates the four shitas, which we're just going to try to talk through a little bit. The four shitas are that pretty much every possibility. You have Chavos Hadar says that you're chayav on the opening the doorways that open into the elevator, but not the actual elevator room itself. You have Diane Weiss, you have the Minchas Yitzchak, who says you're chayav, your putter on the door was leading to the elevator, but you're chayav, if anything, you're chayav in the elevator itself. We'll see why in a minute. Then you have the Renassan Gestetner in Lahoros Nassan that says you're chayav in both, and you have the Betzel Chachma that says you're chayav in neither. And the reason the Betzel Chachma, like you said, says that you shouldn't be chayav in the actual the elevator room, we'll call it, the elevator itself, because it's a diras arai, like you said. It's not one of the rises from the Sfina, and we have a halacha in Shulchan Aruch that the Rambam in Shulchan Aruch that it says that the rooms in a ship are pater, because it's not. So now the reason it says it's pater is because it's a diras arai. This is a taina against the B'Sel Chachma. It's a diras arai, and not the fact that it's moving. In other words, Actually the Minchas Yitzchak himself and the Stipler paskin that in a Sfina, even though it's moving, but since the reason it's patur is deras arai, because the people that come off and on the ships, the tour ships and everything, it's like a pundach, like a hotel that you're not chayav unless you're there 30 days. So the people that come onto the ships and they come for a week, 2 weeks, whatever, how long the cruise is, they never stay there that long enough to be chayav. However, the shaila is raised, what about the sailors? And what about the captain? And all the cook and the people that live there, that they're there like all year. They're mamish there all year. That's their place that they live. So these poskim will say the Stipler and Mr. Yitzchak say that for them, their rooms would be chayav. Even though they're moving, they will be chayav. We see that moving itself is not a reason that it should be considered deras arai. The ship is always on the move. The question is it kavu or not? So then you have to come to the question that in this case the elevator is always kavua there. It's just going from floor to floor, but it is kavua in this overall shaft. It's not going any place. That's the way that it's used. So then that's a reason that possibly it would be chayav. Anyway, like the Chovas Hadar, he actually says that the doorway should be chayav, but the elevator should be patur. The elevator itself, because he calls it. He says mavar. All it is a passageway. It's only used while it's moving. So the whole tzura of an elevator is an ol arai. That's what he is. And therefore he says even from within Beis Shar it should not be chayav. Beis Shar, we already learned in the last sugya, Beis Shar, which we said is chayav, certainly when it opens it to another house it's chayav because it's a stationary thing. Here the whole thing is not stationary, and therefore he says that the doorways to it should be chayav, but the elevator itself should be patur. That's the shita of the Chovas Hadar. But the Minchas Yitzchak says exact opposite. He bases it on a Chamudei Daniel, and others that say that if you have a small room, this will come later on. We learn the sugya and Yuma and everything like that. We'll come up to this, but if you have a small room that's less than dalad tvachim, so the general halacha is that it's patur from mezuzah. But there's a Chamudei Daniel, there's also a Rabbi Kineger like this, but sort of the opposite. But Chamudei Daniel and others say that if it's roy l'tashmisho, if it's roy for its tashmish, for its use, certain types of rooms are needed for less than that. So according to Chamudei Daniel, let's say a small closet, a small walk-in closet that's not dalad or dalad, according to him, it's brought in the Piskei Tshuva and Reish Pei Vav Yud Aleph, this Chamudei Daniel. So then a small closet, since it's royal tashmisho, all you need is a small closet. He holds that it's chayav. So Minchas Yitzchak wants to extrapolate that further to say that we see from here that whenever there's a swore of royal tashmisho, the usual things that are tanoyim, that are stipulations to be chayav, fall off as long as it's royal for that type of a shimush. So, like there's a Chazon Ish that proves, very strong proofs that a bathroom, even though the only reason a bathroom is patur is not because it's not a dira, it's called a dira, it's just a dira she'ena shel kavod. It's like a dira shel bezoyan. But lulei, the fact that it was dira shel bezoyan, even though the average bathroom is not dalad al dalad, especially in those days, I remember Rav Yeshu's bathroom was so tiny that you could barely walk in there and close the door. So, but it's still called a dira. It's less than dalad al dalad because since for a bathroom all you need is a very small room. So that's its shimush. So its dior is something smaller. So according to the Chamudei Daniel, if not lulei the fact that a bathroom is a tashmish bezel, it would really be chayav. So based on those the Chamudei Daniel and all those achronim that learn like him, that it's royal tashmisho, even though it's not smaller. Also, hu adin, one of the tanoim to be chayav is that it should be oil kavua, not an oil aroy. Like we say, a sukkah is patur because it's aroy. But it's patur from mezuzah because it's supposed to be paskin diras aroy ba'inan. So we paskin. So that's why sukkah is patur. But however, if something shimush is to be aroy in a kavua sense, so then, and that's zeu tashmisho, that's the way that you want it to be used. so then it should be chayiv just like something smaller should be chayiv. That's what the Michzah Time is, and therefore he says that the fact that the elevator is a roy, that shouldn't be a reason to pater it, because that is its use. That's how it's supposed to be used. So a roy should not be an ikuv in the chiyuv mezuzah. However, the doorway to the mezuzah, he says just like Rav Gershon just said, that he wants to say that since when you open the door, the doors don't open to a they don't open to a cheder. They don't open to they're open to a place that's a roy that you need for the elevator to be there for the door to have any value. So then that's mafkia, the chiyuv from the doorway. Like usually, if you could open the door. In most cases, you're just going to fall down the shaft. There's nothing to walk into. So the heat time is that the door itself should be pater, but the elevator itself should be chayav. That's why, and based on these two svaras, that's why the Nesson Gestechtner holds that really both have a reason to be chayav. He holds like the svara of the Chovos Hadar mechayev the doors, and he holds the svara of the Minchas Yitzchak to mechayev the elevator. And the Tzela Chachma, Tzela Chachma says that he holds the taina of Minchas Yitzchak why the doorway should be pater, and he holds the svara of the Chovos Hadar why the elevator should be pater. So he holds they're both pater. So that's sort of a loose nutshell of the breakdown of all the shitas. So then the question.
Rabbi, the mahut.
Pardon?
Sorry, the mahut of a sukkah is also aray, and it's still patur. The whole mitzvah is aray.
It's also because it's only for 7 days. It's aray and it's only 7 days. We're talking about something which is it's there for the whole entire year. Its way that it's used all year is to be aray. So the sukkah has a double negative. It's a dir's aray, and the amount of time is aray as well. We'll address that more when we get to the sugya and yuma. Okay, so the halacha l'maisa, I saw b'shem Rav Yashiv. That's all. He held like the Chovos Hadar. He passed like the Chovos Hadar that the doorway of the house should, since that it is its normal way to be used. That the doorway, true, it's only going to be a useful doorway when the elevator is there. But that's the way it's built. That's what it's meant for. That's what it's supposed to be. So therefore, Rabbi Yosef Paskin that the doorway to the elevator is chayav, but the elevator itself is pater because I guess he held to the sword that's called an ola roy and would not be chayav. So we certainly have a strong shita to be samach on halacha ma'aser. Rabbi Yosef, there's 4 shitas here, but Rabbi Yosef, the posuk door, the last door, was machuya like the Chovos Hadar. Okay, we'll end with that, and Mr. Shem will send out more makomos for upcoming sugya. Kol tuv.